represent Lieutenant Russell Graham, and I just have a few questions for you. Please go ahead and state your name and how you're employed.
Yes, ma'am. Leanne Hodges. I'm the Public Information Officer at Troop G, Louisiana State Police.
How long have you been employed?
Almost 2 years.
Okay. And which cadet class did you come through?
100.
Are you familiar with Kevin Blake?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with his physical performance during physical training?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you just briefly describe his physical performance?
Yes, ma'am. In the very beginning of the academy, he struggled a lot, and he had gotten better, but even during every PT session, like morning session and everything like that, he had always struggled to keep up.
Okay, all right. And were you present, oh, let me ask you this. Were you familiar with Kevin Blake prior to the training academy?
Yes, ma'am.
How was that?
We would swim together at the YMCA with other cadets as well.
Okay. And what did you observe about his swimming capabilities?
That he could swim.
Okay. Were you present for pool physical training on February 16th, 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you observe any interactions between Lieutenant Graham and Kevin Blake?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you tell me what you observed?
Yes, ma'am. We were lined up on the right side of the wall inside of the pool area, and Kevin and Lieutenant Graham were partially in the shallow end of the pool, and when I did look, Lieutenant Graham basically had a lapel grab on Kevin's clothing, and he was just holding him up out of the water.
Okay, all right. And is it fair to say that you informed the, let me ask you this first. Did you participate in an interview with Internal Affairs?
Yes,
for
ma'am.
this investigation? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and did you tell the Internal Affairs investigators that you didn't see anything appropriate occurring between Lieutenant Graham and Kevin Blake?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, and it didn't have any negative effect on you at all as a cadet?
No, ma'am, it did not.
And also, in your opinion, did you state that you felt like Cadet Blake should have been able to complete all of the workout for that day?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all.
This witness free go?
Yes, I don't need this.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Marian White. I represent Lieutenant Russell Graham, and I have some questions for you today.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you state your name and how you're employed?
Captain J.B. Slayton, employed with Louisiana State Police in the Gaming Enforcement Division.
Okay. How long have you been in that position?
14 months.
Okay, so in February of 2022, what position did you hold?
I was the captain and commander of the training academy.
Okay, and what are your duties as captain and commander of training academy?
Oversaw all the training for state police to cadet training, in-service training, everything that falls under, to include JESTEC facility, the 1,600-acre facility out in Zachary.
Okay. How long did you perform that role?
2 years.
Okay. And what did you do before that?
I was the captain, commander of public affairs and recruiting.
Did that? How long in total did you spend at the training academy?
2 years to the day.
Okay. And how many cadet classes would that be?
Just one.
Are you familiar with Kevin Blake, a cadet who came through training academy?
Yes, I am.
Did you have an opportunity to observe him during his physical training?
I did.
Can you provide your observations?
My observations were that on several occasions he would perform the training, but would do it usually on a basis where he was last on most things, and if you wanted to put an adjective to it or coin it, he was probably one of the lazier cadets within the academy.
Okay. All right. Was this consistent throughout his time at the academy?
As far as physical training is, I would say yes.
Okay. Now, as far as the swimming goes during full physical training, was Blake in the category of someone who could swim, or was he a non-swimmer? Do you know?
My recollection was at the beginning of the academy, we talked to the cadets, asked the cadets who was a strong swimmer, who wasn't, and anybody that could swim was put in a certain category. From my recollection, he was put in the category of people that could swim or were comfortable swimming.
Do you recall if you were present for pool physical training on February 16, 2022?
I was in the field house, which is the entire building where the pool is located. I was not overseeing the physical training that morning, so but as the commander, I was in and out of the pool area and in the gym area. So I was present, but not the entire time.
Okay. Did you witness any interactions between the instructors and Cadet Blake that day?
I did initially.
Okay. Can you describe those for us?
Yeah, it kind of started with the pool workout and the different exercises that they were doing. Cadet Blake was showing signs of lack of effort type of things, and usually when that would occur, staff members would interact specifically with those cadets, and that's exactly what happened in this situation. There was some exercises where they were getting jumping in the pool, getting out of the pool, doing air squats and those type of things. And while other cadets were doing the exercises, Cadet Blake would fall behind, and he'd be getting out of the pool while others had already finished the air squats and whatnot, were jumping in. So some of the staff members specifically dealt with Cadet Blake while he was falling behind on his exercises.
Okay. And what was the exercise that he was supposed to be doing?
From my recollection that day, there was treading water, getting in and out of the pool, jumping in, climbing out of the pool. I think air squats were part of it. I don't know for certain if push-ups were part of it, but that's routine type of exercise on the pool, in the pool area.
Okay. Was he supposed to be swimming at all, from one edge to the other?
Yeah, I think they were swimming from the short end to the other short end of the pool, and they would get out on both ends of the pool, do the exercises and whatnot. So yeah, that was part of it, swimming across the short length of the pool.
Would you, in your role during Cadet Class 100's Training Academy, did you participate routinely, or did you observe routinely the physical training portion?
So this was my first class, so I didn't want to be at every training session. I didn't want to be in a micromanaged type of role, but I wanted to learn, observe, watch, also supervise. So without knowing an exact amount of time that I was present for training sessions, I would say I was probably there half of the time, maybe less.
Okay. Was this the first instance where you observed that Cadet Blake was having to kind of be singled out and moved off by himself to work with instructors?
No, it was not the first time.
Okay. Were you present during the training that day when Cadet Blake was the only cadet in the pool?
I do not recall. I don't recall seeing him alone in the pool.
Did you, give an interview or participate in an interview with Internal Affairs for this incident?
I did, yes.
Did you ever, at any point in time, see video surveillance footage of an interaction between Lieutenant Graham and Cadet Blake in the pool?
I did.
Okay. And, what was your opinion of that interaction that you viewed?
So my opinion of it was that the optics of it were not good, and it was optics that I felt that I was going to need to make some changes within the training academy, standard operating procedures, our SOPs, which we had updated a lot prior to the start of this academy. But that was one aspect of it. As far as the optics, I also felt that I needed to change some of the things that we did as far as the staff, as it relates to lieutenants being involved in training. You know, I came in and I had a large staff of troopers and supervisors that had a lot of experience in training, which included Lieutenant Graham. He was in training previously before he was a lieutenant. Lieutenant Robinson was on staff. I know he was in training from the time he was a trooper and a sergeant. And they were, at this point, they were, I don't want to say routinely, but a lot of times they were involved in the training. And so after watching the video and hearing about the incident and getting incident reports, I felt that I was going to have to make some changes to our standard operating procedures to where we would eliminate any confusion between the troopers and the sergeants that run the day-to-day training, and also to, if a situation like this arises, I felt that there was something that we should put in place where if one instructor is too engaged with somebody for too long, that we need to have something in place where another instructor will take over for that individual, so that one interaction with one cadet doesn't last too long. So, does that answer your question?
I believe so. Now, from a training standpoint, though, you didn't view anything that Lieutenant Graham was doing to be malicious or with any ill intent towards.
Objection.
Sustained.
Sorry. From a training standpoint, did you understand what Lieutenant Graham, what the interaction? Did you understand why Lieutenant Graham was interacting with Cadet Blake in the manner he was?
I would say yes, I did, and I would say that was a routine thing that took place with several cadets throughout other training as well, specifically to this physical training. I will say that after watching the video and seeing the duration and whatnot, and the things that I mentioned a minute ago about things that I would want to change in the standard operating procedures, the duration of what took place was a concern for me as well. So I would say that I did understand where he was coming from and what the intent was that he was trying to do with Cadet Blake. But I felt that as the commander, some changes that I would need to make would be the duration of his, because I feel that although intentions may be one thing, if you're not getting the response that you feel you need to get, then that's, you know, something needs to change from that standpoint.
Did you, after the event, did you have a counseling or a meeting, I guess I should say, with Lieutenant Graham and the other lieutenants?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. And at that point in time, what was the directive given to the lieutenants?
Am I allowed to look at my incident report that I have? This is mine, this is a signed copy of that.
We got it, we got it.
Okay. Can you ask your question again,
Okay,
please?
Yes, go ahead.
okay, let me ask again, let me try to remember, I'm sorry.
I think the question was, what did I go over in that meeting?
Yes, you had a meeting with the lieutenants and what was discussed there?
So in that meeting, the main things that were discussed was what I had mentioned previously about some of the practices that I felt we needed to change moving forward with this cadet class verbally, but in future cadet classes, changing the standard operating procedures and whatnot, which was telling the lieutenants I felt that they needed to take a step back from training, although they have an extensive background in training and experience in training. I felt that the role of the lieutenants should be their lieutenant roles, and the training roles that they held as sergeants and troopers should be left to the current troopers and sergeants. So the main portion of that conversation was that our lieutenants need to do more of our lieutenant roles and only be involved in training if we were shorthanded and or requested to do so.
Prior to February 16, 2022, those topics had not been covered with the lieutenants, is that correct?
That's correct, I would say yes. And to follow up on that question, you know, this was my first academy class as a captain, and the staff that was in place had extensive experience, to include 3 of my 4 lieutenants had been in training from the time they were sergeants, troopers, and lieutenants. So I felt that utilizing their knowledge and experience was positive and something that I felt I wanted to do.
Okay. Now, did you serve as Lieutenant Graham's evaluating supervisor during your time at the training academy?
I did.
And do you recall if you if you evaluated him?
I did evaluate him.
Okay. And I want to show you that evaluation if I can. Okay. May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Captain Slayton, does this look like a performance evaluation you gave for Lieutenant Graham?
Yes, it does.
And what rating did you give him?
The
I'm
rate-
gonna object, Mr. Chairman, I don't see the relevance of ES.
Directed to
Oh,
this meeting.
I'm sorry.
The question is, was this evaluation before or after February 16th in terms of relevancy?
This was before.
I don't see the relevancy of it.
Okay.
Sustained.
Did you provide any input the following year for Lieutenant Graham's evaluation?
I'd have to look at it and see, because we were transferred, I was transferred May 18th of 21, and the evaluation period is usually in August So I would have to look at that one to see if I provided notes to Captain Jackson, who would have completed it. Actually, it would have been completed by his commander in fleet.
Okay. May I approach with the evaluation following the incident?
Yes.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. Now, this evaluation is not one that you drafted, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. You were no longer Lieutenant Graham's supervisor at the time of the deadline for this evaluation. Would you agree with me that it's signed, if you look on page 2, the evaluation session was signed by Lieutenant Graham on August 31st of 2022?
Yes.
But the year, the performance period was July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022?
That's
Is that
correct.
correct? Okay, thank you. And if you look on the last page, I'm sorry, not the last page, second to last page, where it says documentations and comments.
I'm going to have to make an objection to this document. This is not something that is related to his activities with the training academy. This is something that is related to a different area of the department.
I think she just established it was for the performance period July 1, 21 through 6/30, 2022.
But in the fleet section, it's not with the training.
So he has separate evaluations for different areas of employment?
No, Lieutenant Graham was employed, we haven't established, we don't have his testimony yet, that he was employed at least in the training academy through February 16th, 2022, because he was present there.
But it was transferred.
But during the period of time that evaluation covers.
But this
That
theory
evaluation.
covers that.
Are you still thinking?
Yeah,
What's happening?
I don't think this evaluation from the training academy, my objection is this guy is
The relevance is it covers the period of time in question, it covers the incident. He was with the training academy as an XO, and yes, he was transferred at some point before this evaluation was conducted. And so it covers the period of time that we are here today discussing.
I'll let the question continue. I mean, first of all, we're not even certain that this witness participated in this evaluation, so we're trying to just get to that point, are we not?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I just have one question
Okay.
about the document. So I can proceed?
Yes.
Okay.
Overwhelmed.
Do you see in this document where it says on the second sentence of that page, it says documentation and comments, it says, I spoke to his previous supervisor, Captain J.B. Slayton, who advised Lieutenant Graham's work was exceptional while assigned to the training academy.
Yes, I see that.
Did you provide that feedback to his supervisor?
In a verbal conversation with Captain Kilgore, we spoke about it, yes.
Okay.
The way it sometimes works is sometimes previous supervisors, when it crosses over into sections during that time frame, it's kind of handled different. Sometimes the current commander will call the old commander or the old lieutenant and get the verbally some notes, or sometimes notes will be typed out and provided and attached to this. In this situation, it was a phone call and minimal verbiage that was put in here by Captain Kilgore.
Okay. Do you recall by chance when Lieutenant Graham was transferred out of the training academy?
I was transferred May 18th, and he was transferred shortly before me, so either late April or early May.
All right, that's all I have for this witness.
I have something to follow up. You testified a few minutes ago that you have been in the Training Academy Commander for 2 years.
Yes,
That's correct.
That's correct.
And Cadet Class 100 is your first class,
That's correct.
and that was during the COVID.
I came in during COVID, so that was the first class after COVID.
So you have limited interactions with the cadets, is that correct?
I think that's a fair statement.
Is it safe to say that you do not, on a daily basis, interject yourself into the daily operations of the training regime?
That's a fair statement, and that would be by design, but yes, sir, that's a fair statement.
So the way you become aware of situation awareness is when you talk to your assistants.
Yes, sir.
That would be like
My lieutenants,
your lieutenant,
yes, sir.
even your sergeants, like Sergeant Corey Washington,
Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Patrick Jackson, and
Even my troopers, but yes, sir.
all right. You discussed a few minutes ago that Cadet Blake interaction with with Lieutenant Graham optics was not good. Is that your testimony?
I wouldn't say interaction, I would say observations.
Observation.
Yes, sir.
On February 16, 2022, you are not all the time present in the pool area, correct?
Correct.
In times, on February 16, 2022, you did not see the struggle between Kevin Blake and Lieutenant Graham in the swimming pool, did you?
I did not.
In fact, the video surveillance does not indicate that you are in the pool area at that time.
That's correct.
Did you have opportunity to look at the video surveillance?
I have, yes, sir.
Did you have opportunity to read Lieutenant Graham incident report?
Yes, I was the one that requested the incident report from Lieutenant Graham.
Tell us when you read in his report this statement, I reached up and grabbed him by the throat and immediately released his grip. Oh, how did you feel about that statement?
Well, I looked at it from the standpoint of was it a emotional, malicious interaction with a cadet, and I had conversations with Sergeant Borcherding and Lieutenant Jackson. They're the ones that brought the incident to my attention, which is why I got incident reports from Cadet Blake and Lieutenant Graham, and then Corey Borcherding, Sergeant Borcherding sent it all to me as a package. And when he did, Cadet Blake had already resigned from the academy. So I put together what I had, and I sent it up to Major McClendon to advise him of the situation that I knew thus far.
I'm going to show you this exhibit 2.
Yes, that's what I have in my folder.
That's it. You identify what that document is?
That is an incident report from me to Major David McClendon that is dated 3/30/2022.
At the time when you wrote that report, was Lieutenant Graham still involved with Training Academy?
He is still an executive officer at the training academy, yes, sir.
What was the instruction given to you by Major McClendon at that time?
The reason that this incident report was requested and I sent it to Major David McClendon was because on a subsequent day, Lieutenant Graham had assisted in a swimming exercise. And however, Major McClendon was made aware of it. He called me, and I looked into the situation to figure out what transpired, and he requested that I do an incident report about it.
I would like to introduce this exhibit to
I'm gonna object. This is not included in the suspension letter, and so I don't think it should be made part of these proceedings.
If it's not in the suspension letter, it is beyond the scope of what should be admitted.
we proceed.
Sustained.
Did you have a duty to provide a safe training environment?
Yes.
Did you feel the interaction between Lieutenant Graham and Kevin Blake went too long?
Like I stated earlier, I think after evaluating it and seeing the video and the time frame, I felt that it was a situation that went too long as far as Lieutenant Graham one-on-one with Cadet Blake. I felt that there was something that we should change, or I should change within our standard operating procedures, where one trooper sergeant, one trainer doesn't interact with one cadet for too long. I felt in this situation, the one-on-one was too long, and I felt that with our staff members that were present and in the pool, that we should have a standard operating procedure where another trainer should step in with the intent to hopefully get the reaction that the other one can't get.
One last question to you, sir. As a result of this incident, and you speaking with Major McCleary, were you ordered that Lieutenant Graham should have zero interaction with the cadets?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
As a result of this incident and the follow-up with Major McCleary, were you instructed that Lieutenant Graham should not have interaction with the cadets?
After the second incident in the pool that prompted this incident report, I did have a conversation with Lieutenant Graham and advised him to have zero contact with cadets.
That's what I heard. Yes. That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Any redirect? Ms. White, are we gonna have any redirect?
No, no redirect.
Commissioners, any questions? Is this where this free go?
Yes. Good afternoon, Trooper Drago. My name is Miriam White. I represent Lieutenant Russell Graham in this matter. I have some questions for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you state your name and how you're employed?
Joseph Drago, Louisiana State Police Training Academy Firearms Unit.
Training Academy what?
Firearms Unit,
Firearms, okay. And how long have you been in that position?
3.5 years in the firearms.
What position did you hold before then?
Troop L. Road Trooper at Troop L.
Okay. All right. How long have you been a trooper?
5.5.
All right. So, how many cadet classes have you participated in?
Four.
All right. Are you familiar with a cadet that came through named Kevin Blake?
Yes, ma'am.
Or did you have an opportunity to observe him during physical training?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How often did you, for that cadet class, which was Cadet 100, Class 100, how often would you observe physical training in the pool specifically?
To give you an accurate count of how many times, I wouldn't be able to do that. But anytime that there was any type of training in the water tank, we would have to be there as certified lifeguards through Red Cross. So we would pretty much be at every one. Whatever number that is, it would be pretty close to that. I'd say at least 90% of them.
Okay. And so you had an opportunity to observe Cadet Blake during pool training?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Pretty much any PT we would go to as a staff, being a lifeguard and CrossFit Level 1 certified, we would pretty much run, myself and several other troopers, Trooper Howard and so forth, would run the trainings.
And you say that you are lifeguard certified?
Yes, ma'am, through Red Cross.
When did you get that certification?
It's a 2-year certification we just renewed in July, excuse me. So 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago.
Okay. Can you provide your observations of Cadet Blake during pool PT training while he was at the academy?
To limit it to that wouldn't be an accurate depiction.
Okay.
Just overall PT standards for Cadet Blake.
Just answer the question she asked.
Sorry?
Answer the question she asked you. If she
Okay,
needs
good.
some more questions, she'll ask you more.
Yes, sir. As far as the PT in the pool, it was not adequate. You know, he wasn't training as much as the other cadets were training, I guess is the easiest way to say that.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to observe his swimming capability?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was your opinion of that?
He was capable of swimmer.
Okay, all right. As far as physical training in other areas, what were your observations of Cadet Blake?
Again, he had the capability physically to do the training, but he just would not exert any energy during the trainings. So we put heart rate monitors and such on him at times, and they were below par as far as what your BPM should be for the amount of work that they should have been doing, should I say. And other cadets would be sitting in a pool of sweat, and he wouldn't hardly have any perspiration on him at all.
Okay. At the times that you observed Cadet Blake not exerting the effort, like you said, was Cadet Blake excused from the workout or able to do less of the workout than the other cadets?
Normally we would, if there was some type of formation to it, we would pull him out of that formation, put him to the side and try to do some type of remedial with him, whatever that may look like for whatever we were doing that day, in order to let the other cadets continue to train at a certain level, and then we would do something different with them.
Okay. Cadet Blake's physical performance, was it consistent throughout the academy?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall if you were engaged or involved in pool PT training on February 16, 2022?
Again, to give you the exact date, I would be lying to you, but more than likely, yes, ma'am. If that's the date in question, then yes.
Okay, that is the date in question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you just explain to the commissioners what you observed that day and your participation?
So the cadets were swimming back and forth, which is the width of the pool. During that, he fell behind, Cadet Blake fell behind several times. During that, he would hold on to the side of the wall and just would not exert any energy. Whenever he was told to continue to PT and continue to do it, he would say that he didn't want to do it anymore, and so on and so forth. And we told him, or several times people told him if he didn't want to do it anymore, he could get up and get out of the pool and resign or do whatever, but he had to participate as part of the training with the PT swim.
Okay. Do you recall if Cadet Blake remained in the pool after the others had gotten out that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What was your understanding of the purpose of that?
For him to make up the reps that he didn't get during the PT session.
Okay, so he had not completed the reps that the other cadets had done?
Yes, ma'am, he had not.
Okay. Did you remain in the pool with Blake?
Yes, ma'am,
Okay. Why were you there?
as a lifeguard.
Okay. Who else was there?
Lieutenant Graham.
Anyone else?
Outside the pool, I'm not sure.
Okay. Did Blake do the exercises that he was instructed to do?
Yes and no.
Okay, can you explain?
So he would swim for a moment, but he kept going to the edge of the wall and grabbing the wall, and he would sit there for an extended period of time. We'd tell him to continue to swim, and he just would refuse the commands that were given to him to continue to swim.
Okay, and grabbing onto the side of the pool wall, was that allowed?
It was, but only when, so if you had to swim the width of the pool and come back, and you could stay there, because generally there were two groups going, so there'd be one group on one side, one group on the other. When that process is happening, one group stays against the wall while the other group swims back and forth, and then we let them go, just so they're not crossing each other in the middle of the pool, so we don't have to worry about any type of collisions.
Okay, but during this occurrence, you testified Cadet Blake was swimming alone,
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
Okay, so was he, under direction not to grab onto the edge of the pool?
Yes, ma'am.
What about, were there any other directives given to him as far as the swimming, instruction went?
No, ma'am.
What about touching the bottom of the pool?
I don't recall that.
All right. Did you witness any, physical interaction between Lieutenant Graham and Cadet Blake?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What was your opinion of that interaction?
I believe at the time Cadet Blake was supposed to be treading water. He kept saying he couldn't do it, he couldn't do it. Myself and Lieutenant Graham were in the pool. Lieutenant Graham was closer to him in proximity than I was. He kept saying he couldn't do it, and he kept telling him to just continue to swim, continue to swim. We weren't at the deep end of the pool. We were more or less in a little bit over 6 foot of water, and he kept saying he couldn't do it. And then he reached out and started grabbing towards Lieutenant Graham, at which time I saw Lieutenant Graham kind of disengage from that, swim away, and then he was told to get out of the pool.
Okay. As far as from a training perspective, what was your opinion of how Lieutenant Graham handled that interaction?
It was in par with what they teach us. So if you have a drowning victim and you do a front approach on them, it's not preferred as a lifeguard to do a front approach. But if the victim is coming towards you, you have to do what you have to do in order not to be a victim yourself. So they teach you to dive under and try to come from behind them in order to get them from behind so they're not drowning you and you can rescue them. But the first step of that would be to break contact with them.
Okay. In this situation, did you perceive that Cadet Blake was drowning?
I didn't think he was drowning. I think he was more or less panicking for whatever reason.
As far as Cadet Blake's physical exertion at this point in time, were you of the opinion that he needed a break or was exhausted at this point?
That's hard for me to say. For what I watched the other cadets do, I would say no. But, you know, each person has individual abilities. It'd be hard for me to say. I would honestly, in my opinion, I don't think he should have been as tired as he claimed to be.
I don't have any further questions.
Trooper Drago, I have a few questions for you, sir. You are a certified lifeguard, correct?
Yes, sir.
And as a lifeguard, you have training on how to rescue someone in the water, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. One of the qualities of a lifeguard is to act appropriately in an emergency situation in the pool. Is that correct?
I'm sorry.
One of the qualities of a lifeguard is to act appropriately in an emergency situation in the pool. Is
Yes,
that correct?
Yes, sir.
And also one of the qualities of a lifeguard is to remain calm in an emergency situation.
Yes, sir.
All right. During the pool exercises on February 16, 2022, you observed Cadet Blake struggling to complete the pool exercise, did you?
Yeah, I guess so, in his opinion.
You observed him stopping at the edge of the pool at each lap, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you observe Kevin Blake take an extended break at the edge of the pool?
Take a what break, sir?
Extended break.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you started swimming in front of Kevin Blake, correct?
Swimming in front of him? Yes, sir.
And then he followed your guide, correct?
Yes, sir.
You did not pull him, did you?
Pull him?
Pull.
Oh, no, sir.
You did not push him, did you?
No.
I would like to play a very small portion of your interactions because I was able to identify you.
Okay.
I'm going to object. Lieutenant Drago's interactions with Cadet Blake are not part of the suspension letter, are not part of the issue here today.
I think it's pertinent to the facts of what happened that day, and it should be allowed.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, play it. Can you make it bigger, a little bit bigger? If you see yourself, you identify who you are. All right, play. Is that you right here?
Okay, so that's the other one.
Yeah, I can't see it. I can't see that.
I'm sorry.
Can you
Paul, can you pause it?
I'm sorry.
Can you identify who you are in that video clip? You can go to the screen if you want to. Because I wanted it to see. All right, keep playing. You can go step. Go back a little
Go
bit.
back to 6:45.
Go back just a little bit. Yeah, go back just a little bit.
This is good? No, back a little bit more.
Just a little bit. All right, good. You identify who you are.
You can play mama.
If you see yourself, yes. That's you right here, right? Okay. Please pay attention. That's not the one I did. That's the one I did. Yeah, I'll probably look for it. Keep playing. That's it. Because I really wanted to see. I wasn't listening at the time. Did you identify? Do you see yourself here?
Yeah, I'm sorry, another pool. That's all.
Okay. How was the time you were responding to?
Jerry,
Yeah, it is. He's that key right here.
That's our business.
Okay. It's good. Oh, 6.7. Come back right here. And that's the U right here.
Yes,
All right. And that's the split.
yes.
All right. That's what I wanted to see. Thank you. All right, my question to you before we, there's no audio, but in that clip, could you describe for us, you notice that Kevin Blake was responding to you when you were swimming in his front,
He was swimming back when I got in front of him.
but you never pulled him, correct?
No, sir.
You never pushed him, correct?
No, sir.
At some point, you observed Lieutenant Graham interaction with Kevin Blake, correct? At what point did you leave the pool, the tank area?
So,
At what point did you leave the tank area? The pool area, at what point?
oh, I'm
did
sorry,
you-
the pool area. Yeah, I apologize. I can't hardly hear. I'm not sure what time I left after Cadet PT was over with.
But you did not see when there was a grabbing of the throat by Lieutenant Graham.
No, sir.
As a certified lifeguard, if that took place, what would be your reaction?
It would depend on the circumstances.
Is that the best practice for having the cadet?
For that, sir.
I'm gonna object to the question. I'm not sure if I understand the question or if the witness does. Can you rephrase?
Grabbing the throat of the cadet, is that the best practice?
So I don't think grabbing anybody's throat is the best practice at any time, but it depends on the circumstances. That's why I'm asking you, like, what is the question?
The question is, grabbing the throat of a cadet in the pool, is that the best practice?
Under what I'm sorry, I don't understand.
I mean, if you can't answer the question based on how it is, then that's your answer.
I don't understand the question, sir. Sorry.
Does grabbing the throat of the cadet in the pool bring honor to the department?
I'm gonna object to the question. There's no foundation for it.
Overruled, but ask your question.
Is grabbing the throat of a cadet bring honor to the department in the pool?
Can I ask for more context?
Just if you could answer the question the way it is, if you can't, then you can't.
Yeah, I can't answer that.
Do you see the interaction between you and Kevin Blake, correct?
Yes, sir.
Kevin Blake was trying to respond to you to swim, correct?
He was swimming. I mean, I wasn't I don't remember if I was talking to him and coaching him or what have you. I was just there to ensure that everything was safe.
But he was responding to you, correct?
I don't know if he was or he wasn't, sir. That's all I'm telling you is he was swimming. My job was to stay in front of him to make sure that he didn't get in any type of peril. So when you say responding, verbally, non-verbally, I don't, do you understand what I'm asking? Like, I don't understand what you're asking me. We weren't communicating verbally with one another. So when you say he was responding to me, it may have been response as we were telling him to swim and he was swimming, then yes, the answer to that question is absolutely.
All right. That's fine. That's what I have.
I have one.
That's it.
In the area where you were just showing the video, where you and Cadet Blake were swimming,
Yes, ma'am.
is it true that that is an area, that was the deep end where both of you could not touch the bottom?
I'd have to see whether we are in relation to the latter. If
Okay,
you want.
Can we see
can
it
we
here?
allow him to look one more time?
So,
The 6 foot mark is right there on the bottom of the screen.
Is that,
Right there, it's the 6 foot mark.
can you press play? Is this, I'm trying to understand if this is what we just looked at.
I didn't go
Yeah, that's what we just.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So where we are, we're right at the 6 foot mark, where it starts to, you can see at the top of the screen, it starts dropping from 5 to 6.
Yes, okay. And so, can you touch the bottom of the 6 foot and keep your head up?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. That's all.
Questions?
Rico?
Thank you, appreciate it.
I'd like to call, good afternoon, Lieutenant Davis. My name is Marion White. I represent Lieutenant Russell Graham in this matter. I'm going to have a few questions for you. Can you start with, state your name and how you're employed?
Sure, I'm Lieutenant Scott Davis, Training Operations Lieutenant at the Training Academy.
How long have you been in that position?
How long have I been a lieutenant? I guess about a year and a half, maybe, close to that. I've been at the Training Academy prior to that as the in-service coordinator sergeant.
Okay, so how many total years at the training academy?
Probably close to 9.
All right, I want to ask you, are you familiar with a cadet that came through class 100 named Kevin Blake?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to observe him during training?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have an opportunity, and when I say training, I mean the physical training part?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. What are your roles, or what was your role for cadet class 100?
I was there the majority of the mornings for physical training, teaching defensive tactics and various other things, and assisting in other ways.
Okay. Did you assist in pool PT training?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember what were your impressions of Cadet Blake's performance physically?
I think he often would stop prior to looking tired or physically exhausted and just kind of, I guess I'd say quit. And I would notice that he often wasn't out of breath or sometimes even sweating.
Okay. Would this occur during just one section of physical training, or did this occur overall?
Overall,
Okay. Was this consistent throughout his time at the academy?
yes, ma'am.
Will the witness just pull the microphone closer?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Sorry.
All right. So as far as pool physical training goes, physical training across the board, would you say that there's yelling that takes place?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What other tactics do you recall that the instructors do to help train cadets?
And that's recently changed, but I guess at the time, more physical training, one-on-one physical training, and I don't know, I guess you'd have to be more specific.
Okay, all right. So, let me ask this. Are you considered a use of force expert?
Yes, ma'am.
What does that mean?
So I guess I've helped write policy for the department or worked with legal on that. I've met with assistant U.S. attorneys and district attorneys over various cases, and for a few years I reviewed all the use of force reports and videos and things of that nature.
Okay. Were you in attendance at pool PT on the morning of February 16, 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you observe an interaction between Lieutenant Graham and Kevin Blake?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you yourself have any interactions with Cadet Blake that day?
I don't recall I remember being there in the pool. I don't know what context you mean, and yes, especially if the answer is after the pool, we taught defensive tactics training.
Okay, I mean specifically during the pool session.
Yes, I was there.
Okay, but you don't recall any interactions you had with Cadet Blake that day?
Any interactions with
Or
him? You mean
just
like
training with him,
talking
anything like
to
that?
him, or?
Or assisting with training of him?
Yes, I mean, I was there, during that training.
Okay.
I guess in what way?
I mean, do you recall if he, was pulled away from the group and, had to swim by himself?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And did you instruct him during that at all?
Did I instruct him? I don't recall if I was talking to him directly or what in that moment, but I do remember that moment and swimming there somewhere near him at the time.
Okay. Now, what do you recall of the interactions between Lieutenant Graham and Cadet Blake from that day?
I remember him swimming, they were swimming, not laps, but, or maybe I'm mixing it up with lengths and laps, but the shorter width of the pool. I remember he was asked to swim there and back, and he didn't swim there and back, and I remember they were having interaction, and Lieutenant Graham was talking to him and redirecting him and getting to swim and things like that.
Okay.
Please pause so we can update the microphone batteries.
Change your microphone batteries real quick.
Burn them through my.
Memories are much later. Okay, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, so, this interaction that we were just talking about that Cadet Blake and Lieutenant Graham were having, and Cadet Blake was swimming, as you said, in the pool. Was it your understanding, or what was your understanding of why Cadet Blake was swimming in the pool with Lieutenant Graham at that point?
I'm sorry, that sounded loud to me, sorry. I remember I got there a little bit later than usual, but I do remember he was towards the middle of the pool and swimming laps. I remember his performance up to that point not being on par with the remainder of the cadets.
Okay, all right. If a cadet is not completing the exercise, whatever the other cadets are doing, would typically the cadet be, taken out of the line or whatever and?
Objection, that's leading.
Sustained.
What would typically happen in an instance where a cadet is not completing the workout?
More individualized instruction.
Okay. Was that what was occurring with Cadet Blake?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you see any physical contact between Cadet Blake and Lieutenant Graham?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us what you saw, what you remember.
I saw Lieutenant Graham push him in the water, a couple times to redirect him. Or a few times, I can't remember the exact number.
Okay. All right. Did you report that to anyone?
I wrote it in an incident report at the time.
Did you report it without someone asking you to run an incident report?
I don't fully recall.
Okay. Did you have any interaction with Lieutenant Graham after the PT session that day?
I'm sure I did.
You don't recall at the end of the day?
I don't recall like what we would have talked about or anything like that, but I'm sure we talked at some point.
All right, I don't have any further questions.
I just have a couple of questions for you, Mr. Scott. You are not present at the pool area at all times, correct?
I got there after the workout had started, yes, sir.
In your incident report, you did indicate that you did not remember seeing Lieutenant Gray choke Cadet Blake.
Correct, I don't recall that. I left a little bit earlier as well. I had to change over to get ready for defensive tactics training that day.
Because you are teaching defensive tactics class?
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
You had no redirect.
No.
Is this free to go?
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant Robinson. My name is Mary Ann White, and I represent Lieutenant Russell Graham in this case, and I have some questions for you.
Yes, ma'am.
State your name and how you're employed, please.
My name is Sammy Ray Robinson. I'm employed with Louisiana State Police.
And what position do you hold?
I am currently the lieutenant in the training academy over applied technology and training and operations out at Jet Tech, our training facility out in Zachary.
How long have you been in that position?
The applied technology position's been just over 3 years, and the training and operations lieutenant is about 6 months.
Okay. And overall, how long have you been at the training academy?
Overall, 13 years I've been at the training academy.
Okay. In that 13 years, has your role, have you had a consistent role in physical training of the cadets?
Yes, ma'am. I've always participated in some capacity with physical training. When I first came to the academy, I was a driving instructor, and then I moved to firearms, and then I was promoted to the driving track supervisor, and then promoted to a applied tech lieutenant. But through that whole time, I would assist with physical training.
Okay. Are you familiar with a cadet named Kevin Blake who came through Training Academy, Cadet Class 100?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have an opportunity to observe him during physical training?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Can you tell us your observations?
From the beginning up until the time of this incident, him leaving, he had kind of a lackadaisical attitude, kind of operated at his own pace when it came to physical training. The staff would rotate to try to encourage him to push himself or keep up with the rest of the class, and it was pretty consistent that that wasn't what he was willing to do.
Okay. All right. And specifically during pool PT, did you have an opportunity to observe his swimming capabilities?
Yes, ma'am. So we did we do an assessment, and everyone came through, and basically you come in and you swim across the pool, and we kind of assess you and put you into groups according to your strength of swimming. When he came through, we didn't observe anything that would have put him in a weaker group. He looked like, from what we observed, to be a capable swimmer.
Okay. Do you recall, Cadet Blake, or let me ask this first, were you at pool PT on the morning of February 16, 2022?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Okay, do you recall Cadet Blake's performance?
Well, that particular day, my focus, I was in the deep end. I had 3 cadets that we would consider weak swimmers. That was Trooper Dennis, Trooper Anderson, and Trooper Griffin. They were my primary focus that particular day because we were in the deep end and they were getting in and out of the pool. Being a certified lifeguard, I'm paying attention to those folks. That day, I could hear Sergeant Borchdine and Lieutenant Graham talking or ordering Mr. Blake to tread water like everyone else, to put forth some more effort. But again, my focus was on those 3 folks. I heard him right behind me. I didn't know where he was. facing this way and he was behind me. I heard him behind me. When I turned, I looked. It didn't appear to me that he was struggling. I've been a certified lifeguard since in high school. I've saved folks. I recognize a drowning victim. It just again would look as though he was doing what he had been doing, what he was known for doing, just putting a little effort as possible forward. He wasn't going underwater, he wasn't flailing, so I turned my attention back to the three. And then a few moments later, a little moment later, I heard him again, and this time I felt him grab my shoulder, my left shoulder. So I did, as trained, pushed off, turned, observed him from a distance. Again, he wasn't flailing, his head wasn't going underwater, you know, he's talking, so he's breathing. His arms are, he's treading water basically, just at his own pace. So I turned my attention back to the three. And I believe it was some point after that that they moved him away from him. I mean, because those folks, I mean, you know, we need a little room for those three folks. So I believe at that point, or at some point after that is when Lieutenant Graham and Sergeant Borchini moved him further away from us, so.
Okay. And when Cadet Blake put his hands on your shoulder, as you stated, were you in the deep end or the shallow end?
I was in the deep end.
And did you include that in your incident report?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm assuming that you have not received any discipline for that. Is that
No.
correct? Can you explain why that is the response, as you testified, the typical, not the typical response, but the response that is required of lifeguard training when someone puts their hands on you in the deep end?
Not knowing, because it came from behind, didn't know what the deal was. If someone is in a panic state and they grab a hold of you, now we have two drowning victims instead of one. So in the training, push off, create distance, observe, and then you try to make an approach, try to talk to them. If you do observe that they are struggling in some way, and then you move in, and there are different tactics we can take to help if help is warranted.
Okay. Now, you said at some point, you testified at some point during that session that Cadet Blake was moved to a different area of the pool away from the other cadets. Is that not?
Well, away from the
Statement?
three that I had, but they moved
Okay.
him away, so, you know, they created distance so I could work and not have to worry about somebody grabbing me from behind, is what I assumed. Because the three folks that I had were much taller. Trooper Griffin, that was in here a little while ago, he's a much bigger person, so, and he wasn't a strong swimmer, so that's why my concern was really to those three folks.
Okay, all right. Towards the end of the session, did you, at any point, go towards the middle of the pool to work or assist with, working with Cadet Blake?
Leading, objection.
Sustained.
At what point in time did you finish, working with the three cadets that you spoke of?
It would have to have been when PT was over, pool PT, and they were getting out. Normally they walk around, get their, either take off their BDUs or, and grab towels and dry off. So at that point, I would have exited the pool and be done as far as those folks were concerned. As far as being a part of physically training Cadet Blake, or Mr. Blake, I wasn't a part of that. But I would.
Okay. Did you have an occasion to observe Lieutenant Graham interacting with Cadet Blake on that day?
Other than I could hear him giving commands to Mr. Blake to, you know, pick up the pace, you know, keep up with everybody else, that I could hear that. But as far as paying direct attention to those two.
Did you give an interview with Internal Affairs for this incident?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Did anyone show you the video surveillance footage of the pool that day?
I don't believe, ma'am.
Okay. So so you didn't witness any physical interaction between Lieutenant Graham and Cadet Blake that day?
No, ma'am.
Can you tell the commission, describe for us, what are some things that, you see or that you do to help motivate a cadet during training?
Well, again, you can pretty much tell when someone, is not putting forth the amount of effort. I mean, everybody's, we call it, 100%. Not everybody's 100% on the same level, but you can tell when an individual is just kind of what we would call sandbagging, just kind of laying back, not really putting as much effort into it. Not breathing hard, we're not sweating. The rest of the class is and they're moving at a quicker pace than everyone or than that particular individual. So, sometimes we pull them aside, we give motivational exercises, we give them something a little different. If they were struggling with push-ups, maybe I would pull them aside and we do flutter kicks, just to try to encourage them to kind of keep up in that kind of motivational capacity.
And do you ever yell at the cadets?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you ever, mock them? Mock what they're saying?
Right, mock what they're saying. Draw attention to some of the things that they are saying, yes. Not with the intent to mock or belittle, but like, really this is what you're saying. We're here as a law enforcement professional, you're wanting to be one. These are the things that we, you need to push yourself, so.
What's the purpose of these motivating tactics, especially with respect to the pool, and physical training of the pool?
So as far as like hollering or yelling in the pool area, it's very difficult to hear. There's a big echo in there. So most of the time the hollering is there, it's just so everyone can hear you. It's kind of like being on the firearms range. If not everybody can hear what's going on, you have to holler so that they can hear what's going on.
Okay. Can you tell us, in your opinion, is pool physical training important for the academy?
I believe so. Yes, ma'am. When you consider that the state of Louisiana, as a large majority of the state is water. We had troopers that have bailed over bridge rails and had to tread water or hold on to a pylon to, not drown, but to avoid getting crushed by a vehicle on the roadway. So, and then, we also experience vehicles running off the road, and are we going to stand there and watch, someone drown, or do we need to try to be proactive and get in there? As a department, we have a training tank. That's what we call the pool. And having my background in lifeguarding, and I taught swimming lessons all throughout that, adult and children, to me, it just never made sense that we had that piece of training equipment and we didn't give these folks an opportunity to, if they weren't comfortable in the water, to get them comfortable and build that confidence. And that particular class, we were able to do that with several individuals that honestly just couldn't swim, and that was the majority of a mental issue. And in the evenings, Lieutenant Graham helped me a couple of times. We would do swimming lessons where it was, it's Sammy and Russell, we're just here to talk to you, I want you to be relaxed. I need you to be comfortable in the water because there may be a time where you might enter the water while you're working, and most of the time a drowning happens because someone panics. So.
Can you tell the commissioners what is your opinion of Lieutenant Graham's interactions with cadets?
I think he was a motivator. I think he knew the physical fitness side of the house. He and his wife owned a gym, so he knew what it was to physically get out of an individual a little more than what they might have been comfortable with doing. So I had no problem with Lieutenant Graham and the way he interacted with
testified that, you and Lieutenant Graham had, some additional training sessions in the pool.
Yes, ma'am.
Did, Cadet Blake ever attend any of those sessions?
No, ma'am, he did not. It was a voluntary thing because it was after hours. However, I would send the COIC up, ask if whoever wanted to come down, they could come join us. But, of course, we had to track everything, so they would bring us a list back with who would be attending. And he was never any of the individuals that attended those trainings.
Do you recall, interacting or communicating with Lieutenant Graham after the pool PT session on February 16, 2022?
Objection, your question has been asked several times. I think it's been repeated over and over again.
I'm asking after the pool PT session was over.
Overall.
I don't remember specific conversations, but I'm sure we probably discussed the fact that Mr. Blake failed to follow directions or put forth any effort.
Do you remember if Lieutenant Graham appeared angry or emotional during those discussions?
No, ma'am, I don't remember him being angry or emotional.
That's all I have.
Lieutenant Robinson.
Yes, sir.
You and Lieutenant Russell, you have the same rank, correct?
Yes, sir.
You are a lieutenant, correct?
Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Russell Graham is also a lieutenant, correct?
Yes, sir.
During this exercise on February 16, 2022, your testimony was that you are in the deep end of the tank.
Yes, sir.
That's like about 15 feet deep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you indicated in your report that your attention was on Cadet Dennis, Anderson, and Griffin, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. In your report, you indicated that former Cadet Blake grabbed your left arm from behind. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you indicated in your report that you created a distance.
Yes, sir.
And you created that distance because you are a trained lifeguard, correct?
Yes, sir.
But in doing so, you did not grab his throat, did you?
No, sir.
You did not pull Kevin Blake, did you?
No, sir. I shrugged him off.
You just shrugged enough to create distance between you and Kevin Blake.
Yes, sir. That was what was needed to just create distance and ensure that he wasn't grabbing on.
And that is based upon your training.
Yes, sir. In the position I was in the pool. Yes, sir.
And that is in the deep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. At some point, you left the training area, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the only thing that you saw was what you wrote in your report.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
You read, Greg?
Yeah.
Questions?